if you want to support the show, any of the shows, either this or whichever show, I'm not on right now because this is just a blanket ad for all of them, and the website, you can go to bewareofspoilers.com. In the description for any of the episodes of Beware of Spoilers, there is the option to donate. If you don't want to donate that way, you can donate directly through the website. We do have that, mwpnews.com. And if you don't want to support that way, then going to mwpnews.com will help out because we have ads there. We don't want to keep it, you know, where there's a lot of ads. There's a few ads. But the point is, we want to make it so that way, we can sustain this for the long term. If people donate, we're never going to paywall anything, I don't think, as of right now. But you know, if people start donating, we'll start doing cooler and cooler stuff. Like donations are how we get to cover stuff like Tribeca and other, film festivals. And, we may be able to bring on more people to help out. So if you want to help out the show and you want more content from us, by all means, uh, even just going and giving us a 5-star rating on Spotify helps out a lot. But that's it. That's the only ad we'll have on the podcast ever. But here's whatever podcast you're going to be listening to. I'm getting used to the new interface. Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam,
I'm Peter.
and we're here for the mid-year top 5 as usual. I did not update the thing properly. Let me just if I actually could change one thing, and I'll give an accurate representation of where we are in the movie draft.
hmm Oh
We
yeah, that's good update.
we both have had 3 movies come out. You had Dune Part 2, you had
Yep.
If, and you had Mean Girls. Um, some might say Mean Girls was a misfire.
Yeah, I thought it would do much better than it ended up doing.
Yeah, did you see the clips from that when it came out where it was like people in the theater like audibly laughing every time the musical number started? Because
Yeah,
like,
because they tried to trick people into
yeah,
not thinking it's a musical.
I don't know why they did that. And the other thing is, I think I said this to you when we were talking about it back in January. It's like it's weird that when you watch this trailer and all the promotional material, Regina George is kind of the protagonist according to all of that. When
That's what I was confused. I thought that was like actually real or something. I was very confused about why they marketed it like that.
no,
I
it's
guess it's
just
because she's in the least amount of songs, so if they're just trying to make a trailer
yeah,
without music,
which
that
is
just
weird because
ends up
Renee
being
Rapp
her.
is like an actual singer.
Yeah, yeah, that's true too. At
Like
least they're not all like in their mid-30s pretending to be high schoolers,
that's
like in
true as well.
the original one.
That doesn't bother me as much. I'd rather watch that than have it be a musical. Um,
Yeah, that's Rachel McAdams is also a much better actress than the people in that
than
movie.
anyone there. Um, so Doom Part 2, you got 98.75 points for the Metacritic score because, as we said earlier, this year we are doing a prediction thing.
Yeah,
You were within 10 of the
nice.
actual Metacritic. Because the actual Metacritic was 79, you guessed 88, so you were within 10, so you get a bonus. So you got 98.75 points. The box office total as of last update, which it probably hasn't changed since it was like a few weeks ago, was 71.18 points for $710 million dollars.
Nice.
If I was surprised that If underperformed as much as it did because I really liked that movie, and I guess I'm in the minority on that. Um,
Yeah, I had no desire to see it, and I did not see it, but
but
I
but
thought it was
also
very good.
but also you don't really go to kids movies.
Yeah,
Um,
it's yeah, regardless, I probably would not have seen it.
like it's the kind of thing where it's like I saw it, I was like, this is a movie that like if it came out 25 years ago would have been like a huge hit on VHS.
Yeah, or if
Like
it came out like a year or two after Roger Rabbit,
yes, yes.
it would have
Uh,
done very well.
but you guessed 70 Metacritic. The actual Metacritic was 46, and it has only pulled 181 million. And then Mean Girls, you were close on the Metacritic. You guessed 68. You were within 10 again, exactly because the actual Metacritic was 58, so you got 72.5 points. And 104 million at the box office gets you 10.4 million for a grand total of exactly 317 points.
Nice. Can you bet on Metacritic scores? Maybe I should start betting on
I don't
that.
think that's something that they actually have at sports books yet, but you can bet on the Oscars depending on what state you're in.
Maybe I
Um,
should start doing that.
you could do a parlay of things and win a lot of money doing that if you're right. Um, but you can't bet on the Oscars in New York. I looked it up. So of my three that have come out so far are Furiosa, Kung Fu Panda 4, and Inside Out 2. Um, I did not guess correctly on any of the Metacritic. I thought Furiosa was going to score a lot higher. It only got 79. And at the box office, only pulled 168 million. So that's 16.8 points. Kung Fu Panda 4, I was off by one. I guessed 65, it was 54, so no bonus there. And then 545 million for 54.5 points. And then Inside Out 2 is the one that, has carried me through this. I guessed 87 Metacritic. It only is at 73, but it's crossed the billion, so that's the even 100 points. For a total of 377. Still to play. Actually, Despicable Me 4 did come out, but it doesn't count because I take the Metacritic a week after it came out.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't run that yet. And also, we don't have official box office numbers because it opened this week. That's your other movie. And you also have Nosferatu. Um, and then I have still to play Deadpool 3 and Wicked Part 1. Which Wicked Part 1, they're trying to Barbenheimer that shit. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
They moved the release date so it's opening opposite Gladiator,
No.
which is an odd choice, I think. Um, I don't know why they would do that. But let me bring up my notes because I figured out some of the functionality in Zoom. Um, so I have notes in the Zoom app now, not in a separate Word document that's keep opening and closing. Um, so I figured that shit out yesterday while I was fucking
Mhm.
around with this, and I have my top five. As usual, Peter sees less movies than I do in a theater, or on streaming. Um, so his is a mix of movies and other stuff. Mine is always going to be just movies because I've seen a lot of movies so far. Um, I think this is a stronger year than last year
Mhm.
overall.
Or
I
movies.
Yeah, I think that we've had a lot of better movies this year, just in general. Um, and I think that the big there are only a few that when I was looking through the list of what I've seen, I was like, I know for certain these are not going to be on the list. And it was like, you know, I don't want to mention names, but Rebel Moon Part 2 knows who they are.
Yeah.
Um, like Ghostbusters Afterlife 2, again, you know who you are. Do you have any honorable mentions?
No, I've seen such few new things, but I've liked all the things I've seen, so I had to just put everything on my list, basically.
Okay. I'll do my two honorable mentions and then we'll start alternating. And you can go first with that. So my honorable mentions are Inside Out 2.
Mhm.
Which only didn't make the list because of a very late edition. I think the same thing happened last year with a movie that came out on Netflix, and then ended up in the top five. But I loved Inside Out 2 a lot more than I thought I was going to because I think arguably this movie being a success is the worst thing possible for Disney because it shows them that they should have confidence in their plans to double down on franchises rather than invest in new IP. I think that that's a very dangerous precedent to set. That said, I think this movie was very well done. I think the way they portray anxiety is very well, handled, and especially not just the crippling anxiety, but also the management of anxiety. It's all very
Mhm.
well handled in the movie. So, and it's a few great, bits through it that like recurring bits through it that I think work very well. Um, and is a big part of the movie, and I also always appreciate a good hockey movie. Um, so there's that. My other honorable mention is Seeking Mavis Beacon, which I put in the honorable mention section because it has not had a wide release yet. I saw it through Sundance. It's a documentary about these two women who are trying to find the cover model for Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing,
Mhm.
because that's all she's ever done, and then she vanished into obscurity because she was um, like she was a perfume counter girl at like Macy's or something, and the developers who were making the game went in to buy something for their wives. They're like, "Hey, do you want to be the cover model?" And she became Mavis Beacon from then on. And then it became a whole what's it called? It became a whole um you know movie about the importance of identity and representation and all of that because of like this was like they lost a ton of money because they put a black woman on the cover.
Hmm.
Like they set it up and about half the orders got canceled when they put out the box art.
No, well, I used it when I was in middle school when I had to take typing class. We
Yeah.
used Mavis Beacon.
Yeah, and it's a great typing software, but it's all about that. It's all about the importance of like what it meant to have this woman on the cover. And it's about their quest to try and find this woman and figure out what happened to her and why she's kind of fallen out of public eye since doing that.
Mm.
It was a really well done documentary. But it only doesn't make the list because of the rule that I have kind of arbitrarily that if it hasn't had its wide release yet, I don't put it on the list. It just goes in the honorable mentions. Um, so what is your number five?
All right, my number five was the newest Godzilla versus Kong.
I really liked that movie too. It was way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah, I thought so. I think it's this. It started off slow,
Hmm.
where the worst part. I guess it's Godzilla X Kong or
Godzilla,
Kong.
it's and
Yeah, because now I guess they're more working together, except for that one
yeah.
part. But of course, like all these movies, the worst part is the people, and it's.
Hmm.
I think it would have been better if the entire movie was almost zero dialogue of just King Kong interacting with the other monkeys, and and then you just have it at the end where Godzilla comes and fights. So because the people part when they get lost in like the jungle and it becomes like basically just the first King Kong movie again.
Yeah.
That part's interesting. That part's good with the people. But the early stuff where it's like the girl in the school and it's like of course she has problems like acclimating. She's like this weird survivor of an ancient civilization and
Yeah, exactly.
maybe she shouldn't be forced into a public school.
And then the teacher's like, why is she acting so weird?
Yeah.
Like it's like she's been through a lot. Like and that's the thing too, is that like I understand why they do it, but like I've never seen this happen in real life because I've never really encountered this. When people talk in sign language in real life, do they also say out loud exactly what they're saying the whole time? Because that's a thing I've noticed in movies that I'm like, I never see like translators do in real life.
That I think it depends. I know I've seen it if the person's trying to learn how to read lips, because then you have that connection.
All right, that
And
makes sense then.
and then for the person, if they're talking, it's like more natural how their lips would move. They're not trying to like do it. But yeah, I've never seen maybe it's obviously just for the movie. The movie goes so fast too.
Yeah.
There's a part where they come into contact with that the civilization and they
Mhm.
like get captured by them, and then within 2 minutes they're at that like giant glowing pyramid, and then everything's just being explained like
Yeah, that's the thing is that it's like I saw this movie one and a half times because I went on Thursday, the day it came out, to see it in Dolby, and the fire alarm went off halfway through the movie. Um, and then I went back the next day to see the rest of it. The issue with these movies is it's kind of like that promise where you sit through this boring part with all the humans for the first half to see the monsters fight. I had to sit through that part twice.
yeah.
So
There's only a part where they go to a everything is going so quickly, the characters go to a cave where there's cave drawings that just explain what's going on so far. They're just like, all right, let's recap.
yeah,
And they just like look at all these pictures that just summarizes the movie like up until this point.
yeah, it's like and the question that I had when I left, I had one question when I left that movie. What evolutionary like thing or like I guess like survival instinct thing exists for Godzilla where when fighting Kong, the instinct to suplex him comes in.
Yeah.
Because like that happens at one point, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why
that's
the
when they
fuck is
fight at
this
the
a thing?
pyramids.
Like,
Yeah. The other thing is that they're running out of cities to destroy.
yeah,
But now it's just like these random, like the last battle's like a just like random like coastal like city.
I think that was Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, okay. I must have. I
Because
thought
Christ the
it was
Redeemer's
Ghana or
there.
something. But then it's yeah, it's like Cairo and the pyramids just to destroy the pyramids and,
Like,
and
and the bit with Godzilla, like after fighting that thing in Rome, curled up like a cat in the Colosseum, and then at the end of the next one, like after the big fight and he's tired, he walks all the way from fucking Brazil to Italy to curl up in the
See,
Colosseum again. Like, what the fuck? Like, but I think that this is the best of the MonsterVerse movies, like in a weird way.
mhm.
Like, 'cause I would definitely watch this one again over. And I didn't hate Godzilla vs Kong. Like, I didn't hate that one. I know a lot of people did. I didn't hate it as much as, other people did. But like, this is like leaps and bounds better. Um, I just wish that like my one big complaint about it, and the thing that kept it off the list for me, is the kaiju monsters that are like on par with Godzilla. Both would have been really interesting monsters for him to fight in a solo movie, but both are kind of dispatched pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Because this is mostly a Kong movie, but like that one that's got like the celestial power that he needs to get the new Super Saiyan form, like that one would have been a really cool one for him to fight in his own movie. And then also, whatever the ice one is, like the Ice Godzilla, would have been a really cool thing for him to fight in his own movie. But both of them are kind of just used
yeah.
here just for Kong to earn the name King Kong, which is really
I
all
also
this
thought
movie is.
it was almost becoming fantasy with just a giant magic ice dragon at
Yeah,
some point. I
yeah.
didn't. The other funny thing I thought about was when the evil monkeys are marching out with the ice dragon. If you just took that scene and then showed it to someone and be like, "This is from the new Planet of the Apes." This is what happens in one of the sequels.
The New
They get
Planet
a
of the Apes was
magic
good too.
ice dragon.
That movie was not bad either. The New Planet of the Apes.
That's how I
Um,
bet I probably would have if I saw that one, I probably would have switched them. But I just fell behind trying to watch the other sequels.
yeah,
So
the New Planet. I enjoyed it. I think I love the design of that world. But also, if you ask me any specific plot point about it, I couldn't tell you. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, I did really enjoy Godzilla and Kong as well. My number five is a movie that we mocked mercilessly on our preview for 2024, Civil War,
Oh yeah.
because I went into this movie expecting very little. Because I was like, how are they making? Because you see the map and you're like, oh, this is an apolitical Civil War movie, and it wasn't just the fact the movie came out, but there was also discourse on all sides of the political spectrum that was annoyed about the movie because they don't ascribe Democrat or Republican to
Mhm.
any of the things involved. They don't ascribe conservative or liberal or any other commonly used terms. If you watch the movie, it's very clear what side is what.
Mhm.
Like it's very clear who the bad guys and who the good guys are. And the point of the movie is, would you have this situation happen? It doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, everyone's the bad guy. Because they go out of their way to not point out specific political parties. But like there's a scene that's kind of haunting pretty early in the movie. Because what the movie's about is it's these like the United States is about to fall to the Western forces, which is the rebellious group. Um, so the main guy wants, I forgot the actor's name, but he wants to get to the Capitol because he wants to get the picture of the president being taken in by the Western forces. Like that's
Mhm.
his goal. They're all war photographers. They want to get that picture. So they're like, we're gonna get into Washington and we're gonna be the ones to get that picture. So, but they have to go a roundabout way because there's a blockade and reporters aren't allowed in Washington. So they got to like go around and do this whole thing. Very early on, they get into like Pennsylvania and they go to this gas station and they ask for help getting gas, and they turn the corner and the guys who are running the gas station have these two guys tortured and strung up, um like hanging from this thing, and the guy's talking about them and he's like, yeah, I went to high school with that guy, who'd have thought. And it's like the entire movie is about the dehumanization that comes from looking
Mhm.
at your political opponents as opponents instead of just like, look, we're trying to, the goal is to run things, not to hate each other, which feels very centrist in a way that is not something people would associate with me. But I think that I think the movie does a great job of kind of handling both sides of that.
Mhm.
And I think that like the big mistake they made with it was selling it as a war movie and a big action war movie when it's not that at all. It's a meditative, like it's a journalism movie more.
Yeah.
But it was very good. I really enjoyed that one.
I might have
Um,
to give that one a shot then.
yeah, it was surprisingly really good. What's your number four?
My number four is a TV show. It's the House of the Dragon coming back.
I still haven't started that yet. I think I watched season one. I
It's
think.
definitely it's worth it. It's so much better than the end of Game of Thrones.
Hmm.
The other thing where they can kind of get away with a lot is that the book is based off of, it's not really a book. It's like a historical summary that's like written as a textbook in world. So it's very dry and there's not really any dialogue. It's all just descriptive like of the events.
Oh, okay. So they get a lot of leeway to kind of expand
Yeah.
out.
So that's like
Got
they
it.
can kind of go as fast or slow as they want to because then something that takes like a page that's like a day event in the book, they can expand on. It's like a whole episode in like the TV show.
That makes sense.
So some people are pissed off because they're obviously they're not changing like big events, but they're changing, I guess, the way things are getting to the events.
Hmm.
But I'm fine with it because it's usually just to expand on other characters or like to give other characters like a bigger role like in the story.
But also, that's how history works. Whereas, like, if you read a textbook, that's not verbatim what happened.
Yeah,
Like,
because and I believe the book is supposed to be from the Maester's point of view, so there's like things in it that are wrong, like on purpose even, at least for other parts of
right?
the story.
Like,
But it's good. All the actors are great. There's the most confusing thing, I guess, for me is everyone's names and the names of the dragons and who they belong to, because it gets a little bit tedious. Like one character's name is Rhaenys, and the other character's name is like Rhaena, and then you're supposed to remember everyone like who's who,
that's annoying.
especially when they're like talking about them like third person to other people. It can get confusing.
Well, it's like, Sauron, Saruman.
Yeah,
There's
that
a
actually
there's
there's
a
like
there's a
actually
long
I
history in
won't go into
fantasy.
like Lord of the Rings stuff, but their name they come from like the same being, so that's why their names are similar.
Oh, okay.
There is
Well, that
like
makes
an
sense.
actual reason for that one at least.
There is a long history though in fantasy of similar names
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
same
These
book.
people are all in the same family, so I guess it makes sense why they have similar names. The only thing I don't know how many seasons they're planning because they're also like they're this season it seems like they're going much faster and like things are happening where I don't know how many more seasons they have because there's a definitive end to like the war and stuff.
That's an interesting question because like going outside of this show specifically, is Millie Alcock the lead of this?
Um, I actually don't know. No, I would say it switches up like episode to episode, like who they focus on like a different person. Like so like Matt Smith will get his own episode.
Oh, okay. But like if
Um,
she had to vanish for like a few months to shoot a movie, for Warner Brothers,
mhm.
would that do you think that would delay production? Or is it something that they could work around?
Probably workaround. Isn't she the younger one? I try. Well, I mean,
I don't know her character name, but I do know that she plays Supergirl now. Currently they're shooting Superman,
yeah,
but
she's not in the show really anymore. She only played the younger version of Rhaenyra.
oh, okay, so that's an easy thing to work around then.
Yeah, she had a
Um,
cameo this last episode randomly, but it was
mhm.
like this weird like psychic vision thing.
Oh, okay. So I was gonna say like because like going along with how long it's gonna be before the next season, it's like they're gonna be shooting Supergirl relatively soon because that movie has a 2026 release date. She's the lead of that. If she's someone who has who's gonna have that big of a role, it could become an issue. But I don't if she's
Yeah.
not a lead anymore, then it's not a problem then.
Yeah,
Uh,
her character is, but she after like four half the season last season, they switched her out. They aged her.
okay.
That's the only weird thing about the show is Matt Smith never ages, but his brother dies of like aging basically in like the
Matt
first
Matt
season.
Smith just looks kind of alien, and
Well,
I think it's
it
kind
works
of
for
perfect casting.
in like an inbred family.
That yeah, because like you never see him play someone who's supposed to look normal, and he always kind of looks just a little bit off, and you're like, yeah, that works. Um, like he was the best part of Morbius. Like
Mhm.
you could tell like he knew this was a shitty movie, so he just hammed it up, and like he ate all the scenery in that shit. He was just like all over that. But yeah, I think that part of Warner Brothers' strategy going forward is to milk this shit as long as possible.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that more in the Embracer Group statement where they're like, we have to, I forgot what the exact word was. We have to exploit the IP we have. That's kind of where Warner Brothers is right. I mean, that's where all the industry is right now, but that's where Warner Brothers is, specifically with Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, and now Dune. Um,
Hmm.
where like we got to milk that shit for all it's worth. So this is something that as long as they can keep it going, they're gonna keep it going, I think. I think ideally they want to turn the ending into an event, the way they did for the end of Game of Thrones, but stick the landing unlike they did with Game of Thrones.
Yeah, they actually know the ending now, and it seems that they're following like the big story beats, and that they're so that seems good. And I think George R. R. Martin has more say in like the actual scripts for this show too.
Yeah, I feel like that he might like how much did they deviate? I mean, he didn't have books for the last two seasons of Game of Thrones, so
Well,
it's like I feel like it was like we're not doing this shit again. You guys are gonna let me have say unless we're gonna continue to use my stuff.
yeah, the biggest thing in Game of Thrones is that the writers thought they were smarter than George R. R. Martin, and they looked down on anything magic, so they were trying to make it like almost just like a medieval show. And then the whole point of the show is that the basically the magic's returning and the people are ignoring it,
Well,
which is kind of
fitting then.
funny. It's like which is actually what they did, and then they ruined the
Fitting.
show.
Um, my next one, Furiosa, a
Mhm.
Mad Max saga. I thought this was gonna be a lot higher on the list. Initially, um, I do think that this movie could have been better. I think that this is. I'm just plugging in my what's it called? My thing into my laptop so it could charge a little bit. Because the cool thing about this laptop is that it can charge through the micro USB or the USB-C, so I can charge it with a external charger. But Furiosa, I went into with very low expectations. Um, so I I think that the issue with it is it's not as bombastic as Mad Max Fury Road. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying it has to be as bombastic as Mad Max Fury Road or as big and as you know, but you get the one what's it called? You get the one sequence where they have the war rig. That's really good. I love the mythos they build around Furiosa and about how they turn this into a almost Game of Thrones style like political intrigue thing with what's it called? With all of these moving parts and all of these various entities who are trying to get control of the wasteland.
Mhm.
Um, that's all really interesting. I just think the effects kind of fall a little flat, which is why this is so low. Like the effects are kind of the big issue here, where anytime you let George Miller do what George Miller does with practical effects and practical stunts, it looks great. The minute you start getting into the issues of like CGI, it it does not look great. The
Yeah.
CGI stuff is where it starts to fall apart. Like when I saw the trailer, I was like, "Oh, that doesn't look good," and I was like, "Maybe it'll be fixed by the time the movie comes out." A lot of it really isn't, and I'm like, ugh, that
Probably they
like
rushed. They didn't want to do a lot of pre-production, I bet.
it feels like it was like they. Well, no, but like even if that was the case, you'd end up with more finished looking effects. I think what happened was it costs I would say it probably at this point would have cost a lot more to do a lot of the practical stuff. Like that fight with the war rig is mostly practical. There are CG elements to it, but it's mostly practical. And it was a long shoot. It took 45 days, they said, to shoot that one like 20-minute sequence.
Wow.
That's gonna be the big expense. That's gonna lower the budget you have left to do to finish your visuals. And I think that's kind of what sunk the movie a little bit with that. Um I loved Chris Hemsworth's performance, and that's the weird part about this is that they call it Furiosa. Um, Anya Taylor-Joy is only in about half the movie.
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, because and not because Furiosa's not there, but because the girl who plays young Furiosa is in the other half the movie.
Oh, I didn't even know they did that. That's
Yeah,
funny.
in the trailer they have that one little girl who's playing young Furiosa. Um, she's in about half the movie, and by and large, this is about Dementus and
Mhm.
the war between Dementus and Immortan Joe. That's what the movie's about. Um, and there's a cameo in it that's just absolutely hilarious. Do you want me to spoil it for you, or
Yeah, you can
wait and
spoil.
see?
I am gonna see this, but you can spoil the cameo.
They Max is in the movie
Mhm.
in one shot after he's just looking down off of a cliffside, hanging off his car, eating a sandwich, looking down at what's happening, and that's all he's in the movie for.
That's funny. That's a good
Like,
one.
and you don't see his face either because it's obviously not Tom Hardy. It's someone else playing. I forgot the actor's name, but it's someone else playing him, and he's just looking down like, ah, that sucks. Like, but it was a solid movie. I love the way they expanded the lore of it. I think that they did a great job with that. It should be on Max in reasonably short order.
Yeah, I'll just
For
watch it on streaming once it comes out.
Yeah, I don't think that like and the thing is too, it's like if you watch Mad Max Fury Road, which I did right before this, like that was the thing that really pissed me off about the movie too. I think I texted you about this after I saw, where I
Mhm.
said leading up to it, like, why didn't they put Fury Road back in theaters? Because I would have watched that in IMAX. And then you get to the end of the movie and the credits, you know how the credits have those things now? The credits of this movie is intercut with scenes from Fury Road. Like the entire plot of Fury Road.
And
Because
then just be
like
like, hey, remember this truck? It's in this movie too.
Because it's like, but no, it's not just that. It's just the entire plot of Fury Road through key scenes, like beginning to end. And I'm like, cool. You could have put that in IMAX. I would have gone and saw that. But yeah, what is your number three?
My number three, which this might be one of my most controversial uh
What, you?
picks for number three.
You make a
Uh,
controversial pick? That's unlike you.
yeah, so I'm
Like
putting
Ghost.
all three Lord of the Rings extended editions that they re-released in theaters.
Okay, okay, okay. I
I
see
was gonna
why it's
count each of them as
controversial.
a separate pick.
Okay, I see why it's controversial now. Um,
But technically, I'm pretty sure they definitely redid the sound mixing and they redid some of the visual stuff
This
too.
is
So
also we'll also allow it because this is also the first time they've done this theatrically. I don't think they've ever done theatrical wide releases of the director's cuts.
yeah, that's true too.
So okay, so I'll allow this.
Yeah, so I paid for each one of them separately, and
Oh my
I had
God,
to go.
I almost went. If it wasn't $20 for a matinee on a Saturday, I would have gone to see each one of them. But I'm like, I'm not doing that for a movie that I already have on 4K. Like
The surprisingly, the Fellowship was the one that was the most packed,
that's weird.
and I thought it would be Return of the King. Return of the King was at least, but that was also at Monday. It was at like there's so many trailers too. It was crazy. There was just regular TV commercials and then movie commercials, and it was the exact same ones for every movie. So that kind of sucked.
What theater chain did you go to for this?
Regal. I went to a Regal
Okay.
one.
I went to a Regal movie for the first time when I saw The Color Purple last year. Um, why, like, did they do that thing where it's like they show a bunch of trailers and then there's a random ad, like a regular ad in the middle of it, and they go back to trailers? Like, why the fuck?
Yes, it's
That's
very
so weird.
it's really annoying that their trailer system. Yeah, but it was amazing. Like the audience, I was very surprised because I went in. I was like, "This is gonna people are gonna suck. They're gonna clap every time a meme comes up." But
Yep.
people were almost completely silent the entire time. I
I
was,
think the difference is if you're paying $20 to see it, you're not like if it was an A-list thing, that probably would have happened.
mhm.
But like, and it's also I think Lord of the Rings, you're committing to a 4 hour movie. You're not gonna do that if you're just there to see the. It's not like Spider-Man being re-released,
Yeah,
where it's
and
like
the credits are also like 20 minutes to like a half an hour long for the extended editions.
did you
So
sit through them?
because no, I did not sit through the because the one of the reasons it was made was the Lord of the Rings fan club. So in the extended editions credits, they put all the names of the fan club, and it's like thousands of people. So it
Nice.
takes forever to go through all of them.
Yeah, I did not see that in the theater. As I said, I'm not someone who's gonna pay $20 a pop to go see these. I pay for enough shit. Um, and again, I already own them, but like I didn't know they redid the sound mix.
The
until
sound
after
was
you had seen
is
it and told me.
that was the best part because the I've never seen any of them in theaters, and there's parts that were so loud in theaters. It was great.
Hmm.
It was very good for me. It was I think it was worth it.
I might sit through and rewatch them all before Rings of Power season two, um, because that comes out next month.
That
Um,
won't help you because the show has nothing to do with the Lord of the Rings.
I mean Tom Bombadil's in it, so
I know he is. Yeah, technically he's in Lord of the Rings, the book, the um, the book, so that they can use him for the show.
yeah, the show is questionable. Apparently, it looks better this season than it did last
I just
season.
saw that Sauron's disguise is that the actor wears a different colored wig, and then the elves are like, okay, this is fine.
No one will see it. It's fine. Don't think about it too hard. It's like the Marvel thing where they're in disguise and they're wearing a baseball cap and
Oh yeah,
sunglasses.
the blue unlabeled baseball
Yeah,
hat.
exactly. No one will figure out that this 6'8" blonde man is Captain America because he's got a baseball cap. Um, my number three is a movie that I saw last year, but didn't come out on Apple TV until this weekend, and it's Fancy Dance. I saw it at the Hamptons International Film Festival last year. I picked to see that over Robot Dreams because Lily Gladstone is in it, and I hadn't seen her in anything, and I wanted to see her in something before um, Killers of the Flower Moon.
Mhm.
Um, this is my favorite performance of her between those two. She plays a Native American woman who lives on a reservation who is given responsibility to take care of her niece after her sister goes missing. Um, she's I don't want to say like a con artist, but like she's like a small time, like not criminal, but you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Um, and the little girl obviously wants to reunite with her mother, who may or may not be dead. And because of the way that missing persons cases are treated on reservations, no one's really looking for her. Um, so she goes out, they think that if they go to this event that they were planning to go to, that's where her mother will show up. So they, they set out to go there. The problem with that is, because the sister's been missing, Jax's father, who's white, has assumed custody of the little girl. So
Mhm.
that's the big thing is that they're on the run because she essentially abducts this little girl who wants to go with her. Like the two of them want to go, but because Shea Wiggum has custody, um, they had like it's considered an abduction. So they're basically on the run to go to this powwow. It's a very well done movie. That's now on Apple TV Plus. Um, and yeah, that's all I got on that. What's your number two?
My number two is Fallout, the TV show.
I really like that show.
Yeah, I never played the game, so I have like no idea. I just know Fallout's about like post-apocalyptic nuclear war. That's it.
Hmm.
So I thought the show did a great job explaining everything, but doing it slowly. Like
Yeah.
it takes its time, and it's like there's like plot points that I didn't even think about that like have become interesting, especially stuff inside the vault where they go back to like show you what's going on in the vault and the especially like the moral arguments about like if they have especially inside the vault if they have prisoners, it's like do we kill the prisoners or do we say that we're good so we had to keep the prisoners alive and those little things and it's very funny and then very like intense at the same time like it switches back and forth very well.
Oh yeah, that's the thing about the game. So the vaults are all like psychological experiments where each one of them is something different that they're doing to the people living in the vault
Mm.
just to kind of see what would happen. And it's all stuff like that. I think that I haven't played the games, but my brother is kind of hyper fixated on Fallout 4, so I'm very familiar with Fallout 4. Um, it is I think that they encapsulate the tone of the games very well.
Yeah, 'cause it's supposed to be
Um,
very dark humor, I know,
yeah,
for most of it.
and I think that the whole thing like the whole thing's very well done. The girl in it, the lead, Ella Purnell, she's fantastic. Um, I hadn't seen her in anything before this, but she's really good. She looks kind of like an insect though because her eyes are so giant.
Mhm.
But it is what it is. And I did not know Kyle MacLachlan was going to be in it.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I was like, oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So and he's always a welcome addition to anything. I think the production design, like the effects were a little spotty, but I think part of it was Amazon didn't put the budget they put Rings of Power on for this, which like anytime you watch an Amazon show, you can tell their top tier show and then their mid tier but high budget show.
Yeah.
Um, this is definitely that. It's like this and like the Peripheral are on that same level where it's like why did you not invest the money that you really needed to in this?
And a Wheel of
Um,
Time
Wheel of Time, yeah.
is definitely out there like sub fantasy show.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's definitely this is definitely worth a watch. I do have to finish it still, but I did really enjoy what I've seen so far. Um, yeah. My number two is Challengers.
Oh, the
And the
tennis movie.
the tennis movie. On
Mhm.
top of the fact that this definitely has the best cut trailer of any movie I've seen in the last 10 years. The trailer that you saw before everything for about 6 months as it got delayed, and it's the one to Rihanna's S&M. Like that trailer is fantastic, but also the movie is just great. I love a movie about unapologetically terrible people being unapologetically terrible to each other and also completely understanding why they're all terrible people and understanding
Mhm.
what it is that makes them all terrible people because not a single one of them in this movie is a good person. Like they're all shitty in their own way. And I think they all do it so well. I think Zendaya is gonna get nominated for Best Actress for this. And I think that the final tennis match in this is probably the best shot like sports third act in a long time,
Mhm.
like the tennis match between Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor. Like it is so well done. Um, like at one point, the camera's POV is in the ball.
Yeah.
Like at certain points, it's like you're watching it from under the stadium, like through a transparent floor, looking up at
Mhm.
them. Like there are so many innovative uses of the camera in that. It's so well done. And Trent Reznor, his score is just phenomenal.
I
It's
didn't know he did the music for it. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
Trent Reznor, he's quickly becoming one of my favorite composers for scores for movies because he
Mhm.
always does a good job. Um
Yeah, and I bet it's just things he wants to do, and it's
yeah.
just it's very they're just like okay, just make whatever you want, and that's probably why it's so good.
Yeah, it's so well done here. Um I think this is if not for my number one movie, which I think will come to no surprise to anyone. Um and I think we'll be unanimous on this. Um the if not for that, this would have been the best movie of the year. But
Mhm.
I think that our what I think is our number one pick, unless you come out of left field with something else that I'm not expecting, and somehow Dune Part Two
Just
didn't make it didn't
just to
make your list.
subvert expectations.
It's like you watched the Snyder Cut again, and you're like, my number one movie is the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, or yeah, it's Rebel Moon.
Yeah. Uh, Outside of Dune Part Two, this would have been the best movie of the year. But
Mhm.
yeah, so let's just do Dune Part Two. That's our unanimous number one. I feel like that's a safe assumption to make.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
feel like everyone went into this being like, what are the other ones that aren't going to be Dune Part Two? Um, because Josie made fun of us too for the way we talked about Dune Part Two, and
Did
she's
you
like,
like it more than the first one?
"Oh, 100%." I watched the first one in a theater the month prior because they did like the IMAX preview that had
Yeah.
the Dune Part Two attached. It was just the him riding the sandworm, and
Mhm.
it's like you watch that, you're like, oh, this movie looks great, and then you get to the end and you see that clip, and you're like, what the fuck? How did they manage to make this look so much better? It was like when I saw Avatar, and then they showed the clip from The Way of Water, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that looks still looks really good, and then you watch it like that looked like shit.
Yeah,
Like,
it's I guess because this every year, even with Lord of the Rings, you can see the progression of like the CGI technology from each movie, and it's like oh,
yeah,
this is so much better because they just kept making it better like computers and stuff.
yeah,
There's something I don't know about. I loved the first one just because it was I think a very good introduction to the world. So there's like something about the first one I really like still.
there's just so much that I love about the second movie. I love I added the score to my my Amazon Music.
Yeah,
The score is fantastic. Hans Zimmer did a great job. The visuals of this movie is fantastic. The production design, the
there's definitely more
cinematography.
stuff going on in this one.
Yeah, like, and not only that, like I can deal with a slow movie. I don't mind a slow movie where nothing really happens. Like I mean I love the before movies that fucking Richard Linklater did. Like I can deal with a movie where nothing happens, but like part two, just everything about part one is just cranked up to 11, and they do it so much better.
Yes.
Um, where it's like I don't think there's a director who's had the run that Villeneuve has, especially in the modern era. Like especially within science fiction.
Yeah, I would probably say the closest would be Christopher Nolan, where his like Batman slash his like his other movies up until more recent ones, his run was pretty good.
I mean, like, well, I would say everything up until like The Dark Knight
Hmm.
is probably his, but like I think that like Prisoners, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner, and then Dune 2. Like that is a astounding run of 6 movies.
Yeah. One of the
That's
weirdest things I heard is that the movie that got announced that he's gonna release was the third Sicario movie, so he's gonna come back for the third
Yeah,
one.
I don't think that's
I
I
don't
think
think
if it's gonna be well, first of all, who did Sicario? I don't even think that was Warner Brothers.
I don't
Um
know. And he didn't make the sequel. I never even watched. I heard it wasn't that good.
yeah, I don't think it because it didn't like nobody come back too.
I think Josh Brolin came back.
Yeah, but Josh Brolin does anything.
Yeah, and he's not the he wasn't the interesting part of the first one.
Like I mean he shows up to play Thanos on What If. Like I don't think there's a role he turns
That's
down.
funny.
Like I mean granted, a lot of people came back for What If except for like
Mhm.
for some reason Tom Holland, for some reason Chris Evans, and for some reason Robert Downey Jr. But everyone and Scarlett Johansson, but everyone else is just whoever played the actors in the movies, they come back for What If. Um and Chadwick Boseman for obvious reasons. But um I don't think he turns down that many roles. Like I don't think he's quite Nicolas Cage, but I don't think he's turning down as many roles as you would think. Um, but yeah, I think that the every time you watch that movie, there's something new to kind of discover. And like that was one like I watched it at home fairly recently. Um when it hit streaming, I watched it again. And there's a moment where he says like we have to, we're Harkonnens, we have to be Harkonnens. And it's like one of the things that didn't click with me until I saw that was him saying, like, that is leaning into the religious endowment aspect of it is a Harkonnen thing. Because, like, when you look at the sequence that's on Giedi
Mhm.
Prime, it's like the divinely endowed, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen and his divine grandson and his divine nephew. It's like they use those kind of like terms.
Yeah, they all do. That's like in the first one, the blood rituals and stuff with
Yeah.
the Sardaukar, like that's their religion.
Yeah, like that whole thing, like leading into the religion aspect of what he means there, and it's like that's something that didn't click with me the first 4 times I saw it in the theater. Um, and the thing is too, it's like this is a movie that like if you want to show someone what the point of IMAX is, this is the movie to do it with because this movie handles it so well and
Mhm.
showcases what the power of cinema could be without sounding too pretentious. Um, but yeah, I love that movie. Um,
Yeah, and it was just like so interesting, like the visuals and like it does feel alien and they
yeah.
they like they each planet feels so different, like lived in and just yeah, everything is great.
Yeah, I think this is hands down the strongest movie of the year.
Yeah.
Um,
Something
I
I did notice though that like my friends that watched it asked me about that they made a much bigger part was the Bene Gesserit getting a child from uh like the Harkonnens and
mhm,
Austin Butler's character where they
Fade
she gets
Ralph.
yeah she gets pregnant from him and then my
Right.
friends were like, oh, does that child like come back and like fight
Yeah, I
Paul?
remember thinking that too. 'Cause I was like, I don't
And I was
remember
like,
that in the
no,
books.
like actually that does happen, but it's literally never mentioned again.
Yeah, I don't. That was. I think I asked you that too. I was like, I don't remember that playing into
Yeah,
Messiah at
I
any
think
point.
at least in the book, it just might be that the Bene Gesserit has all these plans, and a lot
Yeah,
of them don't come to fruition. It's
plans
a
within plans.
yeah, it's just like something they're one of their other they just have all these fail things
It's
like
like
so,
Kevin Smith's filmography on Wikipedia, where it's like all these
yeah,
projects that he tried to do and just never came to
a lot of
fruition.
ideas. Yeah,
But yeah, like this is for me. I think that the only movie that I think could potentially unseat it, and I think that it's gonna take a critical eye more than however I feel the night I see it. I think Deadpool 3 for me could. Um, I do think this gauntlet that Josie and I are about to run, where we watch all of the X-Men movies, could help sour it a little bit because it's like a
That's a
lot of
lot.
those are not good. Well, we went through it. It's like it's really only 9, 10, 11, 12 movies
Hmm.
because it's two Deadpool, three Wolverine, three original timeline, four new timeline. Um,
Wolverines are rough.
yeah, they progressively get better at least.
Yeah.
And like by orders of magnitude better. Because like
Yeah, it's
the
like two
Wolverine's
on the
not
bottom
like the
and one
Wolverine's
like
not great,
very high.
but it's astronomically better than X-Men Origins Wolverine. And then Logan is easily my favorite comic book movie ever made.
That's a Japanese one, right? Where he goes.
That's the Wolverine, is the one where
Yeah.
he goes to
That's what
Japan.
I remember we watched, and I don't think it had subtitles or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I
I
think we
just
watched that in a sketchy manner, I think,
yeah.
if I
So
remember correctly.
all of the Japanese parts, I don't know what they said to each other.
Yeah, I don't think anything really happened either. I don't think it really matters that much either. But yeah, I think that like, Deadpool and Wolverine might unseat it. We'll see how that pans out. I'm interested in Sing Sing, um, which Coleman Domingo's getting a lot of buzz over.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the back half of this year is kind of weak. I mean, I'm more interested in Mufasa, after the trailer, because I'm like, at least they're trying something new.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is a weak back half of the year, kind of. I think that's mostly because there's no like I think we got more in streaming than we do anything else because we got Prophecy, the Dune show, and we got the
Yeah, I'm excited for
Batman,
that.
the Penguin. Like and Salem's Lot's coming to streaming this year too. They moved that from theatrical to streaming. But yeah, I think this is I think that we've gotten through all the good so far by the end of this month, and then we'll be in like I'm not interested in Beetlejuice at all.
No,
Like
I know exactly the problem, what's going to be the problem with that movie. They're going to go way too much into explaining the like dead realm and like the underworld and like it's going to be so much bullshit exposition that no one cares about.
Yeah, exactly. They think people do, but no one does.
Yeah. There
Um,
are sandworms though. That's fun.
like I don't think that like Wicked's gonna be that great. I don't think Gladiator 2 is gonna be that great because
Yeah.
like Ridley
Wicked is
Scott's
just
been
a
on.
cash grab. Like that they you do not need to split that into two movies. The story is not big enough.
And
And
isn't
they
like Wicked known for having a weak second half?
yeah, because Defying Gravity, I think, is at the end of the first half.
Oh,
And
so
they literally their reasoning was that that song is so powerful that the audience needs to take a break after it.
I mean, for an intermission maybe, but not for.
And yeah, I've always been a Wicked truther. The book's very good. The other books are absolutely awful. I couldn't even finish the sequel book, Son of a Witch. It's so bad.
I like that. I'm not interested in at all. I mean, Sonic 3, I'm interested in only because like there is like there's a deep part of my brain that's like the I don't want to say this and be politically incorrect, but like the Sonic autism part that kind of like hides out and then every once in a while rears its ugly head. And them doing a Sonic Adventure 2 theatrical adaptation has been itching that a little bit. So like
Yeah.
I
If
know
they,
where this is coming.
if they have the Chaos Emeralds and stuff, I might go see it.
They had that in two, so they might have it here.
Yeah.
Like this, the thing with this is when they put the teaser out and they had the full orchestral version of the theme from Sonic Adventure 2, like that was the point where I'm like, this is a must-see movie for me in a way that I was not willing to like accept. Like it's kind of just in there and I'm stuck with this and it's a part of me, but it is I am who I am. Like Uh, that I'm like I don't know. I just I like I'm not interested in Smile 2. I didn't see the first Smile. I'm not gonna see Smile 2. Like and I
No, I
couldn't.
thought it was dumb, especially because I guess spoiler, but it's a monster. Like
Oh,
it's not like oh it's psychological or anything. It's just it's literally a monster that's a smiling monster.
nice. I mean, at least Naomi Scott's getting work again because she was really good in that Power Rangers movie that no one liked for absolutely no reason. Like, and she was really good in Aladdin.
Hmm.
Um, like she had that one song that I don't think it was her actually singing. Um, but yeah, I think that this is, I think we're in for a weak back half of the year, and that's because of the strikes.
Yeah.
Like that, they have nothing to put out. Like there's nothing to put out till next year. Um, I'm interested in Comic-Con though at the end of the month because
For
I
what they're
think
like future movies.
yes, I think that like Marvel Studios already announced they're going to have a big presence at Comic-Con, and I think this is going to be the apology tour,
Hmm.
kind of like what Pokemon did at the Pokemon Presents this year, where it's like we're not going to say we fucked up, but here's us showing that we fucked up and our course correction from fucking up.
Yeah.
Like that's what this is gonna be, I think. And I think that I think Blades get delayed again. I think they're gonna space out next year's release slate. I think DC is gonna come in a big way with footage from Superman. Um, and they're gonna date some of their further out stuff. And I think we're gonna get a better sense of what they're doing with Star Wars, especially since there's a possibility now that we have Dune Messiah and New Jedi Order opening on the same day. Like, there's a lot of questions on the board that I think Comic Con could answer.
Yeah.
So it has the potential to be interesting. And then there's other things where it's like we don't know what Paramount's long-term plans are with their franchises, like because they're on the verge of being bought out. We don't know most of what's happening beyond next year. Sony doesn't have anything on their release slate right now after this year. Like, and that's not even me being sarcastic. There's no Ghostbusters movie in development. There's no Spider-Man movie in development. There's nothing. Like,
Hmm.
none of their franchises are active. So what's going on there? Like, there's a lot in play that could be answered at Comic Con this year. So I'm interested to see what that is. Although I think Disney may hold a lot of their stuff back for D23 because that's back this year. Oh shit, my laptop's dying. Um, but yeah, I think we got everything for this. So you'll be back next month when we do our top 10 games of all time.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Hopefully Josie will be back for that as well. And then Josie will be on at the end of the month. If you want to come on too, if you want to subject yourself to all the X-Men movies. Um,
No, I like the first two very good. Actually, I like the third one too.
the first two are good. First Class is good. Logan's good. The rest can go to hell.
Yeah,
Uh,
Logan's very good.
yeah. But yeah, we will wrap up there for today. We'll be back with we'll be back with the X-Men episode at the end of the month with Josie. But until then, have a great rest of your week. Fuck's the stop button on this. There it is.